every day because Grandma just made it fun, period. We woke up learning, we went to bed learning. From the time we hit the ground, we had an agenda. We were going to meetings and board meetings, and I'm 3, 4, 5 years old, so all the friends that she had, Governor George and I, and judges and senators, when she said hi George, I said hi George. But I quickly learned that George and Daryl they had titles, and I had to use them. So I started really early with this life lesson. Trey's got a little introduction.
Good morning, everyone. I'd just like to say thank you for coming out. And I'd like to thank God for this opportunity for you guys to show your appreciation, because I really appreciate it as well. Like my sister said, we were on the side of, we knew Mrs. Mentha Varner as grandmother, and you knew her as, I don't know, teacher, friend, family member, or whatever. But to us, yes, every day we woke up, it was a new learning experience. She taught us to tell time, to read in ways that are, not the normal ways, because I normally would want to watch TV, and she said, well, if you can tell me what time your show comes on, you turn that TV on, you can watch it. So I had to learn how to tell time analog, not digital. You don't have digital clocks during the day. We didn't have all of those things. So without, I'm just going to cut to the chase. My grandmother, she taught longer than most people have, had successful careers or 1 or 2 careers. She reached out and she touched as many lives as she could, and she did it the best way she knew how. She brought passion, she brought perseverance, and she brought her perspective. And she always said, Trayvon, how's your conduct today? I used to say, well, side to side, man. And that was an immediate check. That's an immediate check, because if your conduct isn't up to par, then you're going to stand in the corner until you get your mind right. You know what I mean? So she didn't just affect us on a local level. She took us nationwide. She took us as far as she could take us. And she showed love everywhere she went. I'm going to share this with you. I'll never forget, once we went to Alaska, and we got all the way up to Anchorage, Alaska, people. And we just so happened to meet a family of African-American people who look like us, sound like us, walk like us, talk like us. They just so happened to be from Oklahoma City.
Oh, Lord.
And they were the Campbells. I'll never forget this moment. And I said, well, Grandma, did you know them? Did you bring us up here to meet them? And she said, no. That's just what happens when you extend courtesies and you treat people in a humane manner. Then you reach out and you touch people and you affect their lives, and you never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to reach. So I just like to say, it's not your attitude. It's not your attitude. It's not your attitude determines your altitude. So keep your passion, keep your perspective, and persevere. And one of these days, you could be one of these legends as well. But it's kind of hard to live up to grandmother's stature at 5'2". She lived with fire in her bones. She walked fast enough that it kept me at a job. So I was like, who are we running from? We're not running from, we're running to. So, to put it all into perspective, I'd just like to say thank you and bless everybody for coming out, because this is not just our, it's not just our grandmother. We share it with you guys all as well, okay? Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done. Here we go. Back to the slate. This is just a little short list of the accomplishments that my grandmother has started with. I'm not reading. Once upon a time, there used to be a Head Start school across the street where I learned my colors.
Yep.
Mrs. Clemens, you can vouch for this. Your door was yellow. My door was purple. I stopped at your door every day just so I could see you and you could tell me to go to the purple classroom. And I appreciate that, because to this day, I still remember coming to your room and getting those instructions and getting that love and going straight on to Mrs. Womack's class. Thank you for that. My grandmother has been a program director here in Ardmore, diligently raising over $70,000 to give to programs to provide housing, and what we know now as the Dunbar, it was later named as the Mentha Varner Head Start Center. I didn't attend that school, but as you know, it was one of the more, it was a cornerstone in our community for young children to learn. It provided meals, it provided a safe haven for children to come to school and learn, and parents a peace of mind while they worked and their children were getting a proper education and meals. So I would just like to say, you know, if all else, my grandmother was passionate about education, and she wanted everybody to have a chance and to bring out the best in everyone. Not just for the honors, but because there's work to do. And if she was here, she would say, this isn't over. There's still work to do, Varner. So you need to get busy.
I think she used to say, if you plan on making an imprint in the sand, you need to put your boots on and get busy.
Work boots.
So he's almost nailed it all, but that trip to Alaska, it kind of, when you get that far, after 10,000 miles of driving in the car with everybody together, and you get to the mall and you find this little family and you get to go to their house for dinner. And then to top it off, I wasn't going to bed because it wasn't dark. And Grandma was like, well, when we get home, those encyclopedias that you have, or those, don't ask questions. And you all know this because you were going to get the book and you were going to look it up. A definition, a word, encyclopedia. We still have those Charlie Brown encyclopedias to this day. Yeah. After the Head Start program, after the Head Start program was moved to Will Rogers, Governor Brad Henry came to unveil a plaque naming the library the Mentha Varner Library. She was the first black teacher to work in Ardmore and principal, I believe. She loved every minute of it. She helped revise the elementary and kindergarten curriculum guide as well. Mentha has worked on almost every board and organization in Ardmore. And again, we woke up running. And that's not a joke. My legs are already short, but literally I run to this day. My daughter Elise says, why are you moving so fast? That's what we did with Grandma. So get to moving. That's what I tell her. Her citations and awards include, and she was recognized from across the United States from several congressmen and 3 presidents. And there's numerous awards. And I would always walk in the house after we would leave somewhere where she would be honored, and she would just let me know, this is not for the honors. This is for my community, my hometown. Because she truly loved Ardmore and everyone in it. Everyone was her child and her grandchild. She was inducted into the Oklahoma Women's Hall of Fame, HFV Wilson Community Center Hall of Fame, Southwest Museum Hall of Fame, Ardmore City Schools Hall of Fame. She was a lifetime member of American Red Cross 52 years, as well as the Eastside Community Center for 52 years, and 25 years was as the president. She was a member of the NAACP for over 40 years, and a proud member of First Baptist Church, where she was superintendent of Sunday school, where she took us. She didn't send us, she took us for 52 years. I still believe her biggest honor was being the best grandma in the world. Trey and I gave her that certificate, and we still have it to this day. We had the best life lessons and we had a blast. They were priceless. She lived by the golden rule, and I really don't see how Daddy got in so much trouble, so they tell us. Because the way I remember, if you're moving from sun up to sundown, you should have been tired. We were. We woke up and she would read and pray, and we would go to bed and she would read and pray. And I'm pretty sure sometimes we would be asleep before she hit the amen, but we would have each other's back and get up. You gotta end this prayer. Anyone in need, she was gonna help. If she saw a need, she filled it. And like Trey said, there's still plenty of work to do. We're all in education. I switched over into nursing, but I'm still in a school, and there's plenty of work to do. Everyone can pitch in and do something for someone. Our days were filled with going to the meetings, organizing, working political campaigns, and serving, following Grandma, serving every capacity known to man. I am so grateful that Grandma was devastated and disgusted by that dead cow on her father's farm. After that scene, she often shared with me, Shauna, I prayed to God that if he lets me go to school and get an education, I promise I will help every little boy and girl get an education too. And God was faithful for sure, and so was Miss Varner. I appreciate everyone being here, and we thank you and we love you.
Wonderful people of Ardmore, this is my beautiful daughter, Kiana Elise Varner, and this is my handsome son, Thomas Charles Varner. Okay, yes, we kept the initials and the namesake just the same. Grandmother said, first you don't succeed, try again.
Boy, let me give you all a hand. I didn't know y'all remembered anything. You used some big words. I'm proud of you. Proud of you. I am proud of you. Thank all of you for coming out. And I'm gonna just jump right in with both feet. At this day and time, Mentha Varner would have written I don't know how many letters and made I don't know how many phone calls about the critical race theory. My mother was a individual that said, if you don't know where you came from, you sure as, I think she said, heck, know where you're going, okay? She was blessed with a wonderful father and mother, okay? They took my grandmother to Chicago to get papers and what have you to start the NAACP in Ardmore. My mother didn't do things for accolades. She did it because it was the right thing to do. And I remember one time she said, I heard of this young lady over at Southeastern named Brenda. I want you to bring her over here so she can interview. I went and got the first Brenda I saw, and I brought her over here. Brenda Clemens, you out there? Raise your hand up. That's the Brenda I had to go back and get. She didn't care about the gas and what I had to feed her. Just bring her over here so she could teach. Many times she dug in her own pocket to make sure that everybody that had promise, she would give them a push, pull, and she indicated that a lot of kids and people are like wagons. Some of them have to be pulled, some of them have to be pushed, some of them have to be turned over, some of them have to be drugged, you know. And speaking of drug, I think I was a drug baby. I was drugged to church, I was drugged to Sunday school, drugged to BTU, and I told her I gotta go home and study. I can't go back to church, you know, but you know, we do need an anchor, you know, and the Lord is our anchor. But I'm gonna tell you quickly where Mentha Varner came from after they left Alabama walking and running. Okay? Down I-35, turn left there at Highway 7 and go down to a town they call Tatum. It's between Wild Horse and Caddo Creek. And the story my daughter was telling, that was a smell around the farm. The farm was a pretty big place, you know, a lot of acres. And they were looking for a cow. They never did find the cow, but she got on her horse and she rode and she rode. Finally, she came up on the cow. The cow had the whole area stinking. At that particular time, she made some noise, and of all the things in the world, a possum came out of that dead cow carcass.
Oh, Lord.
My mother said, she got off that horse and said, Lord, if you ever get my little chocolate-coated behind out of this country, I will read everything, I'll write what I remember, I'll help everybody I can, red, white, yellow, striped, and that's what she did. That's what she did. She didn't draw any lines. If you wanted to know, don't ask. But if you wanted to know, ask. I remember one day it was raining and the sun was shining. And I said, Dad, it's raining, but the sun is shining. He said, I can't, what's going on? He said, the clouds are below the sun. the sun is shining through. He said, go ask your mother. He said, I turned abruptly, and I started to go ask my mother. I looked up at the sun. I said, I only got about an hour and a half of daylight. I don't need to know that much about that meteorology right now. So I said, I'm gonna let that slide. But I appreciate you all coming out, and I was looking over here at some of my ex-bosses, and I've heard people say that when you get Mentha Varner to talk to you, it's kind of like being bit by a tick. You know, just because you don't see the body, the head could still be itching and bothering you. You know, I've heard some people say that, but as the kids said, she would take a notepad and put it on the side of the bed in case that she had a dream, nightmare, premonition, veil blowing over her face, or whatever, and just start writing. And I'm proud to have her as a mother, and proud to have the people that raised her, you know, because it made a difference. It made a difference. And I told someone, they asked me did I have any brothers and sisters. Now she was a one-woman talent search team. She would go through Tatum, Milo, Woodford, along the banks of the Caddo Creek, bend at Caddo Creek, looking for everybody that had a facsimile of some gray matter in their head. You know, one of her nieces that she picked up stayed with her and was just like a sister cousin to me. Her son became like a brother cousin to me. So we did a lot of doubling up in the family, you know, but it was all for humanity and to help someone else. It wasn't for accolades and what have you, but we're just proud that she came along when she did. I am happy to be here, and I'm gonna tell you what a good job she did. When there was no place for blacks to swim beside the bathtub, she talked with people like Miss Tarrantine and the mayor that just, not the mayor, that just passed away not too long ago. Who?
Much dire.
Mr. Dire. Especially when there was a dire need for change or something to be done, okay? And rather than just talk about it, it's just like some of the pastors we have. You know, we'd rather see a good sermon than hear a good sermon, because I can holler amen and still be ready to go home. But anyway, she was instrumental in getting the swimming pool down at the community center. And she always said, surround yourself with good people when you want to do something. Mr. Thurston over here was one of her lifeguards. Ma'am. Oh, let her talk. Both of them. My other boss has spoken. Okay? So at this particular time, I will let them say something. But I made history too because of her. I was the first black lifeguard in Durant that lived to talk about it, because they had a sign on the side. If you can read, run. N-word. N-word. Be out before sundown, either going north or south. But my college professor had me in 3 capacities, but when it came to the city of Durant, Leonard Morgan, I call him the Little Giant, he hired me, and I got out alive, okay? Thanks to my upbringing in Ardmore and my mother's teaching, okay? Thank you very kindly for staying with me.
Thank you.
I forgot to say, Darcy, you stand up to be heard, you stand up to be seen, speak up to be heard, and sit down to be appreciated. Okay, Kiana. I'm sitting.
Thank you, Papa. I'll keep it very short. I'm really impressed that every single one of us can talk as much as we do. It's really impressive, actually. One of my first memories was when my great-grandma sat me down at her vanity, took out a sewing needle and some thread, and said, "Do you know how to sew?" And I couldn't have been any more than 6 or 7. And at six or seven, I didn't care. It was like, I don't know how to sew, but I'd rather be outside.
Yeah.
But when you talk about teaching that has really transcended generations, that truly opened up my imagination and my creativity. And in knowing that there are a lot of things I can do just from that moment. And even to this day, I carry a small sewing kit with me everywhere I go, because you really never know when you might need to fix something. And surprise, surprise, a lot of people my age don't really know. We don't know how to sew. So let somebody rip something. Man, that moment when I was 7 years old changed a lot for me. So I'm very grateful that was someone who I had in my life and who taught me so much, and her outlook on the world and documenting everything. I think that truly showed me how much I can do. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't know I'd be speaking today, but here we are. Let me think. I remember when we went down to Ardmore to visit my great-grandma, and I was with my dad, and we ended up spending the night. And I remember this wool blanket, and it was so itchy.
Yeah.
It was so heavy and so itchy, but it was warm, and we kind of just stuck through it. Woke up the next morning, had a great breakfast, cleaned up the house, and had a good day. Spent the day with my great grandma. I'm speechless right now. I'm not gonna lie.
It's okay.
It's all right.
Thank you, Cedric.
Okay, I'm going to have the last word for the Varner family. I shouldn't have, but yeah, imagine that. And I'm like, Kiana, can you imagine everybody having so much to say? My Lord, gracious. Anyway, Mentha Varner loved everybody, and even though she only had one son, she had many sons because all of TC's friends, Thomas Carl, all of TC's friends were her children, and so she was just thankful and blessed for that. But her greatest joy was her number one son. She called him her 8th wonder of the world. And so there were 7 wonders, but he was the ultimate. And then after the grandkids came, she loved them as much as she loved Thomas Carl. And then we had the great grandkids, and so that was the epitome of love. But her whole world was about educating young people, showing love, and being there and doing everything that she possibly could. And I'm not going to say any more other than what's already been said. And we thank you all, Cedric. We thank you, the city of Ardmore. We thank you all, everyone, for being here, because this is a great occasion. And it's not a sad occasion. And that's what makes it so wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.